Alright, so this is the demo for the final milestone for Greg, son of Greg. So here we are at the main menu, where we have options for play, options, and quit. Under the options section we have instructions, which describe the game to you as well as the controls. If we go back, we can head back here. And now if we hit play, we're presented with some new options. We have new game, which will reset the save data of our game. We can load save data that already exists, or we can reset the game, which will basically just clear any data that's already saved. So for the purposes of this demo, we're going to start a new game, which brings us to the start of the level. And since the last milestone, you can see that we have some different assets of my own creation, as well as some enhanced lighting and shadow effects, perfectly displayed by the lantern effect on the player here, as well as these candles on the wall. And as you can see, we have the same night enemies as last time, as well as the dialogue encounters. And the UI is altered a bit to be cleaner and more nicely designed. And here we have our different options: friendly, aggressive, and neutral. And when we respond either way, the enemy will typically respond in an equal manner, friendly, aggressive, or neutral. So we will start with aggressive, and they respond quite aggressively. And this, if we go down there, should lead to them attacking us. And the enemies now have a bit varied speed and power determined by their stats, might, charm, and wit, which also apply to the player. We have the radial health bar. You can also see that the charm decreased when we failed this dialogue encounter. So we also have the attack floating text when you are hit or hit an enemy, indicating how much damage was done. We are at fairly low life, so these enemies might kill us soon. We have the procedural level here, and it no longer occurs where the user gets stuck in the opening area. It's one of the many bugs that were fixed in this last milestone. And if we allow ourselves to die here, we'll see probably the most significant feature added to the game, which is the respawn feature. So when we die, we will basically be, in lore, reincarnated into our next of kin, also named Greg, son of Greg, the namesake of the game. And as you can see, the difficulty of the level has increased, and we have also leveled up our stats based on how we use them. We used our might a little bit by engaging in a fight, so our might stat increased to 11, whereas by failing a dialogue encounter, our charm decreased and is still at 10 where it started at the beginning of this level. We didn't do anything with wit, so that also stays the same. So if we press close here, it should restart the level with our new stats. And that is exactly what happens, a new procedurally generated level. Another thing we have here is the pause menu, which is animated very similarly to the dialogue menu. If we press save here, it will save our stats. There's no indication of it here, except in the bottom left corner. So just to demonstrate that, if we quit after saving, and then load a new game, we have the same stats that we left off with. we are back to full health. Another thing we have here, though it is not implemented to the full degree I would like, is randomly generated items. So if we press I here, it'll bring up the inventory menu, where we have these two random items. One is a weapon, as we can see, because it has a damage type, a critical hit chance, and a damage number. Each item has a value. This is armor, which comes with a set of resistances to the different damage types. And though this is not implemented to the extent that I would like, it does exist and does affect combat to some degree. And then finally, if we quit and reset our game, which will basically reset the data, and then try and load the game, it says there is no data because we just reset it. So now our only choice is to create a new game where our data is reset. And we also come with some different procedurally generated items. Whereas the last weapon had cold damage, this one has acid damage. And the value is also calculated by these stats, which will also increase when the difficulty of the level increases or you level up. So they scale along with the rest of the stats and enemies in the game. And we have angered these enemies, so if we can find some other ones, we can demonstrate a friendly encounter. And there have been a couple changes to the level design. As we can see, it's a bit more random, but it also leads to less problems in navigation. So we found another dialogue encounter. Let's respond pleasantly. And they respond pleasantly as well. And so if we can find the mob that was associated with, they will not attack us when we get near. And that is basically all of the major additions since this last milestone. The game really does feel cohesive at this point. It can be played through entirely without stopping, and there is persistency and progression, which I feel are the core mechanics that this game relies on. This has been the demo for Greg, Son of Greg. Thank you.